Hello everybody! If you watched my last video, Random Theories, I said that there was supposed to be a part 2, but the title of this video doesn't reflect that. Well, this was supposed to be part 2, but then I realized that those random theories I was going to talk about were all about the geography of Teyvat. This also means that potentially there will be a Random Theories part 2 or 3 in the future once I gather enough doubts and actual random theories to make a video. Before we begin, as always, this is a theory video. I use actual information found in the game, but my deductions are not the official lore of the game, unless I get something right and it is confirmed in the game itself. With that out of the way, I'd like to start this video with a place that we all know but we don't know at all at the same time. What and where is Mare Jivari? According to Stanley, it's a terrifying place, a sea of ashes with a deathly silence in the air where the wind doesn't blow. From the Lava Walker artifact set that tells us the story of a sage who wandered the Mare Jivari where he retreated as a hermit, we learn that there are scorching flames, lava, burning sand, and a phoenix that sings amid the flames. We also know that it's somehow connected to Bennett since his poem in the Windbloom event says, "You and the Mare Jivari, so close and yet so far, one at the edge of the world, the other in the center of my heart." Now let's connect the dots. Bennett was found among scorching flames and thunders, which is a volcano. If you didn't know, when volcanoes erupt, they can create thunderstorms. His story also tells us of Hollerin winds, which makes me think it was found on a volcano rather than in the Mare Jivari, but that's beside the point. The only place where winds wouldn't be able to blow is at the foot of several mountains, or in this case, volcanoes. And this could also make sense since Mare Jivari is full of ashes, probably created by those volcanoes. If it is a valley surrounded by volcanoes, it would make it obvious why it's deadly and many adventurers died there. Then there's the burning sand from the Lava Walker's hourglass. If we believe what the wiki says about the word Jivari, so it could be either an Indian or South American word, my theory is that the Mare Jivari lies between the Sumeru desert and Natlan, where Natlan's volcanoes meet the sand of the desert. The fact that even Nahida talks about it in the promotional pictures that were just published makes me think even more that Mare Jivari is close to Sumeru. And then we also have the Wanderer's string kettle, which basically confirms this since the Wanderer's troop traveled through the desert to reach Mare Jivari. One might argue that Mare Jivari is Caria, since there's a deathly silence, there's lava everywhere like in the We Will Be Reunited video, and adventurers choose to go there to explore, so they must have treasures of any kind, like the ruins of an ancient destroyed civilization would have. But the cataclysm happened 500 years ago, and the people of Teyvat don't seem to be oblivious to what happened to Caria. You'd think that people know where Caria actually was, right? It's not like this piece of history was kept a secret, and 500 years are not such a long time that people would have forgotten about it. Also, not every adventurer that goes to Mare Jivari dies. Some of them give up after a while and come back, so current information about Mare Jivari is available to the public. Moreover, like I said in my last video, when things seem too obvious, I now doubt their credibility, so all the more reason to think that Mare Jivari is not actually Caria. Later in the video, I'll talk about my theory about Caria's location. Lastly, there's also a chance that Mare Jivari is a domain, since in Noel's Hangout event Act 2, Cyrus asks Noel the name of the most terrifying domain for adventurers from Mondstadt, the infamous Windless Land, with a sea of ashes and a deathly silence in the air, and the correct answer is Mare Jivari. He also tells Noel that one day she will pass through this domain too. I really don't know how to feel about that. It doesn't really feel like an actual domain if we read the Lava Walker descriptions, honestly. Now we have a theory on Mare Jivari's location, but what about the nations we haven't visited yet? It is time to introduce you to my most scuffed map of Teyvat. It is very decent, but it's decent enough to understand my point. My personal guess is that Natlan is going to be either above the desert of Sumeru or to its left. If we climb the highest place in the desert and we look towards the left of the map, there's an almost endless plain of sand that way, which made me think that was where Natlan was going to be, and as a consequence Mare Jivari in the middle. But this may be wrong for a simple reason. If you try to pull the map and go lower than Inazuma, you can't. The same happens to the right of the map and also to the left, where we see the endless desert. Things are completely different when we go north of Mondstadt, since there's a lot of blank space before we can pull the map any further. this should mean that to the left of the desert there won't be anything at all. As a consequence, Natlan should be past that huge sand tornado north of the desert. I think Fontaine is going to be northeast of Liyue. From Mount Hulao and from Mount Tima forest we can see this place, which honestly looks really sus, then a very long river and two huge lakes, one of which is right beneath Celestia, and I guess it's really easy to understand where I'm going with this. Obviously, considering how there's nothing between the desert and Inazuma but the sea, Snezhnaya has to be far north of the map, way above Mondstadt. And finally, on the top right side of Mondstadt there should be Port Dorman. Also, have you ever noticed this strip of land just behind Liyue's mint? We can't go there yet, which is pretty strange. I wonder what's there. Now let's get to Celestia. So my theory is simple. Look at its shape. What does it look like? A fantasy castle in the sky? Well, not by a long shot. It honestly just looks like chunks of rocks were pulled out from the ground and brought into the sky. Considering what I said in my History of Teyvat Part 2 video, when Vanessa ascended to Celestia, we saw that it looks like a panopticon, which is a type of prison, and guess what? Fontaine, which has to be in that direction, is Nation of Justice. I think Celestia was originally part of the ground, and when it was pulled into the sky, the valley below was filled with water and Fontaine was born. I also guessed in my Archon video that the current Hydra Archon was put there by Celestia itself, and I don't think it's a coincidence. Inazuma, the land with the closest ideals to the Heavenly Principles, is the farthest away from Celestia. This makes me think that Celestia may be staying close to a place that needs to be kept under close surveillance, but this also made me wonder, is Celestia actually above Fontaine? I would think so, but we also have proof that Celestia, at least in the past, wasn't where it is today. On Dragonspine, we can deduce from the murals that it used to be above Vindaknir. So here's my doubt. Celestia is either above Fontaine or above Canria, well, what's left of it. Still, in my History of Teyvat Part 2 video, I said that the scene of the two meteorites flying in the sky was probably the twins trying to flee from Teyvat rather than them arriving, and that they flew over Liyue, then Mondstadt, and I think they were headed towards Maskrif. If I was right about that, then Canria was probably north of Liyue, so it would fit considering where Celestia is now. In this case, I would say that Fontaine is a huge lake on the left, while the crater, created by the Sustainer by destroying Canria, is the huge lake on the right. And if Canria is actually there, the fact that Lumine went to Sumeru right after the Cataclysm would also make sense, because it's not that far from that place. Now, still talking about Celestia, isn't it strange that they acted against Canria but they're not doing anything at all against Snezhnaya, even though they're not even trying to hide their intentions? Okay, so first we need to understand why Canria was destroyed. Was it because they were a nation without a god? No, Mondstadt has been more or less a nation without a god since the end of the Archon War, considering how Venti disappears from centuries of end. Liyue officially doesn't have a god right now, since Rex Lapis is supposed to be dead. Inazuma was ruled by an android for around 500 years, while Ei shut herself inside the Muso no Hitotachi, with no contact at all with the outside world. In Sumeru, Kusanali is kept prisoner and she never even received Rukkhadevata's Gnosis, so she's actually not a fully fledged Archon. Was Canria destroyed because of the monsters Reindaughter created, or because of her attempt at creating a synthetic human? Well, neither. I mean, Albedo is still alive. If making a synthetic human was such a heresy that an entire nation had to be destroyed, why leave Albedo and fake Beidou alive? Was it because they tore away the Veil of Sin? Yes, I think. Let me explain my theory. We know from Before Sun and Moon that the Second Throne arrived in the heavens and fought against the Eternal Throne. I am 99% sure this happened outside the Master Domain Teyvat. If the Second Throne is outside and the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles guards the gate to leave the Master Domain, they probably don't check what happens inside Teyvat, most likely because they have 7 Archons that are supposed to enforce the Heavenly Principles in Teyvat in their stead. But when someone tears away the Veil of Sin, which I believe to be the fabric of reality in Teyvat or its actual borders, so something that would be visible from the outside, they act and destroy to fix things. More or less like with the Celestial Nails that seem to be a way to fix the ley line disorders, but in a brutal way. There's just one last thing I want to talk about, Cardinal Points. The only actual Cardinal Point in the entire game is the north in the minimap. Then in Mondstadt we have the 4 winds, the Dragon of the East, the Wolf of the North, the Lion of the South and the Falcon of the West. We had two real references to the four winds in Mondstadt, the temples and the insignias. According to the temples, provided that the Temple of the Dragon doesn't exist anymore, this is how the Cardinal Points should work in Teyvat. But then, if we look at the insignias, why is the north on the opposite side? It makes no sense. Then the billets make things even more complicated. How can Mondstadt, Liyue and Inazuma be considered north and Sumeru the middle? Where is south even supposed to be? In Snezhnaya? How? I'm always ready for messed up borderline stupid theories, but this leaves me speechless. Well, that's it. This video turned out to be even shorter than anticipated, but I think that's okay once in a while. I don't have an editor or anyone who helps me with this channel, so everything like recording, editing, drawing, illustrating, I do it all by myself. A video this short is probably going to be easier to make for once. I will take the next 2 weeks off to play the new Archon Quest once it comes out, mainly to avoid spoilers but also to be able to make a comprehensive video about Sumeru. I will also work on a video where I go over everything I guessed so far and see how much I got right and how much I got completely wrong, so that'll be interesting. I also need to understand how my streams are gonna work, and I need to fix the looks I chose for it since I started this channel thinking I was going to stream Valorant and I don't even play that game anymore. Too much toxicity, even for a Viper main like myself. Anyway, if you liked the video, leave a thumbs up, and if you wanna watch more Genshin Impact Theory videos, consider subscribing. I wish you all good luck with Nahita's banner if you're pulling for her like I'm going to. I will see you in the comment section, and in the meantime, over and out.